The White Pine Trail is formerly a portion of the Grand Rapids and Indiana Railroad, which for years carried logs from northern and central Michigan forests to Grand Rapids and other locations, where sawmills cut the logs into lumber for houses, furniture, boats, and pretty much anything made of wood. The railroad began operating in Grand Rapids in 1867 and reached north to Mackinaw City by 1882. Then in the late 1800s, as the supply of Michigan's large pine trees was depleted, the railroad continued to provide transportation to passengers traveling to northern Michigan and Mackinac Island. In the 1900s, ridership gradually decreased, and the railroad eventually ceased operations in 1984. The White Pine Trail was built on the former rail bed of a segment of the former Grand Rapids and Indiana Railroad that stretches from the Grand Rapids area for 92 miles to the north, ending in Cadillac, Michigan. Having been built on a former rail bed, the trail is very straight with practically no significant elevation changes. Asphalt paving of the entire 92 miles was completed in 2025. This contributes to a relatively easy ride. For this video, we certainly won't be riding the entire 92-mile trail, but we'll only ride the first 9 miles of the trail from its trailhead in Comstock Park to the downtown area of Rockford, and then returning back to Comstock Park. Other than one tunnel and one bridge, cyclists will hardly notice the gradual elevation changes over the 9-mile ride. The White Pine Trail between Comstock Park and Rockford loosely parallels the Grand River for the first few miles of our ride. The river then bends away from the trail. Towards the end of our ride, the trail will cross the Rogue River, a tributary of the Grand River, after we enter the Rockford area. The city of Rockford has done an excellent job of turning the riverfront into a fantastic public area that the entire community can enjoy. As I mentioned, our ride will only be the first 9 miles of the trail, a quick stop in Rockford, and then the return trip back to Comstock Park. The South Trailhead is located in the northern Grand Rapids suburb of Comstock Park. Cyclists will be pleased that free parking is located behind Vitale's, one of my favorite sports bars in the Grand Rapids area. I actually frequent a different Vitale's closer to where I live, but this one is a great place for a pre-ride or post-ride bite to eat or a drink. I am all about combining my scenic bike riding with good food and good drink. Personally, I think of this ride as 4 fairly distinct sections. Departing Comstock Park, the first couple of miles are very business-oriented as the trail passes between the Grand River and West River Road, which is very much a business area with many small retailers and service providers. There are a number of traffic crossings marked with stop signs for you to stop before crossing. Some of these road crossings are busier than others, so be careful, especially if you're riding with kids. And speaking of kids, the White Pine Trail is great for riders of all ages and also great for families and other groups. Almost immediately into our ride, we come to LMCU Ballpark, home of the world-renowned West Michigan Whitecaps. Well, maybe not world-renowned, but fairly well-known in West Michigan. After crossing over West River Road, we will pass near the residential areas of Comstock Park and then Belmont for a mile or two. The trail is bordered by trees and brush on both sides, so it isn't as though you're driving in people's backyards. I also want to mention that there aren't restrooms along the trail, so plan accordingly. And now we enter what I consider to be part 3 of the ride, and I call that the wilderness area. Between Belmont and Rockford, we will be riding through an area of wilderness with tall trees with the Rogue River on our right. We are riding on the side of a valley which slopes down to the river, but don't worry, the trail remains level with a very gradual elevation that we will hardly even notice. This is the most scenic part of our ride. As you're entering into the Rockford area, I want you to know about the Third Nature Brewing Company. This bar and restaurant is not directly on the trail, but is only a couple hundred yards from the trail. I estimate it's about 7 miles into our 9-mile ride. It's worth knowing about, especially if you like a fairly remote outdoor area for dining and grabbing a drink. And very close to the Third Nature Brewing Company, you will find the Rockford Bike Shop. We all know that our bikes can have mechanical issues, whether it's a flat tire, broken spokes, poorly adjusted brakes, or whatever. Knowing the experts at the Rockford Bike Shop are nearby might be a good information to keep in mind when you're riding the White Pine Trail. We now enter segment 4 of our ride, where we enter the city of Rockford. The White Pine Trail takes us directly into the park area of downtown. I think it's interesting that the railroad used to pass through this area that has now been converted into a community park. The city continues to make improvements to the trail, as we can see here. When I see these old rail cars, I assume they once traveled on this rail bed. I hope the city keeps them here, as I think they speak to the history of the area. On the left we have one of my favorite stops when I ride this trail, the Rockford Brewing Company. They make a variety of different beers and offer food for lunch or dinner. This is a great place to stop and have a drink before starting on our return trip. But we aren't done yet. We still need to take a look at the Garden Club Park along the trail and part of downtown Rockford. As we enter the park area, we first come to the Toasted Pickle and are greeted by happy people enjoying one of the few remaining warm weather days here in Michigan. Rockford hosts the Rogue River Blues series on Tuesday evenings throughout the summer here at Garden Park. My daughter and I often attend these events and almost always enjoy a Coke and a hot dog from Damn Dogs on these warm summer evenings in Rockford. After roughly 18 miles, we arrive back at our starting point at the trailhead in Comstock Park. The White Pine Trail is a great ride for people, families, and groups of all ages. It's a safe ride with great natural scenery. As an added bonus, the destination of Rockford, Michigan offers a great place to take a break, and if you're so inclined, stop for lunch, dinner, a snack, or just a refreshing beverage. Now, speaking of refreshing beverages, we are now back at Vitale's, where I can enjoy a cold drink before heading home.
So I hope you enjoyed that video of our ride on the White Pine Trail. I think you'll agree it's a great trail for a very scenic ride with places along the way to stop, to rest, to eat, have a drink, whatever the case may be. Please be on the lookout for my next video where I'll cover another great trail around the Grand Rapids area. And please subscribe to my channel, The Scenic Cyclist. Until then,